Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक दिक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद् भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांतोदित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवृक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तु मे मदेक बंधो मत्संगी मद्गुरो मन्महाधना मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते प्रसादो साधुतादाय नतनीचोक्षताकर आनवंचिकताचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयोः ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय summary detail. Canto 2, Chapter 1. The first step in God realization. Questions. What was Maharaj Parikshit's question? Why is it described as Lokahitam? Let's look at this. See if anything comes up here. It doesn't come here. So why is that question asked like that? Anyway.
Half question is in first chapter, half question is in the second chapter. Sorry. Yeah, 2.1.1 and one is in last canto actually itself, not the first chapter.
Okay. So this was the question. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees, and therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all this to me. That's one part. Why is it described as Lokahitam? Lokahitam, beneficial for all men, beneficial to all kinds of people. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position. What is the transcendental position? Okay. The highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position, the questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Then, question number 2. Describe at least 5 symptoms of Grihamedis. 2 to 4. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind, knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night, either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime, either in making money or maintaining family members. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife, although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. Then, 3, remembering the personality of God is recommended. What are the benefits? What is achieved? 5 and 6. Or descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of God, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. The highest perfection of life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupation and duty, is to remember the personality of God at the end of life. So what is achieved? It's not very clear here. So
Highest perfection of human life.
okay, the highest perfection of human life. So the highest perfection of human life is to remember the personality of God. So remembering the personality of God at the end of life is the highest perfection of life.
Yeah, it looks like.
It's putting freedom from all sorts of fear. What is this? This is somewhere here. One who desires to be free. This is what? X5 now. One who desires to be free from all miseries. Ichchata abhayam. One who desires freedom from miseries. So that is the benefit. That is the benefit. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Then, for what reasons does Shukadeva Goswami cite his own life's example? 8 to 9. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. For saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. The reason is actually here, text 7. Mainly, the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord.
In purport, I think Prabhupada might have given
Purport, it comes,
something.
that point will come. See here. The statement made by Shukadeva Goswami that the topmost transcendentalists was beyond the jurisdiction of regulations and restrictions, mainly takes to the task of hearing about and glorifying the personality of Godhead, is verified by his personal example. 5. What is the significance of the story of Maharaj Khatwanga? 12 and 13. What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest. The saintly King Khatwanga, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the supreme safety, the personality of Godhead. I think the answer to this question is in 13 and 14.4. A fully responsible man should always be conscious of the prime duty of the present human form of life. The activities to meet the immediate necessities of material life are not everything. One should always be alert in his duty for attainment of the best situation in the next life. Human life is meant for preparing ourselves for that prime duty. Then he gives the example of Katwanga Maharaj. Maharaj Parikshit was thus encouraged by the great Shukadeva Goswami, even though he had only 7 days left in his life to execute the prime duty of hearing the glories of the Lord in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. By the will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit instantly met the great Shukadeva Goswami. And the great treasure of spiritual success left by him is nicely mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is something called the prime duty. And Maharaj Khatwanga, he remembered his prime duty. Maharaj Khatwanga, being very much alert to his prime duty, inquired from the demigods about his remaining duration of life. This means that he was not as anxious to accumulate some material benediction from the demigods as he was to prepare himself for the next life. He was informed by the demigods, however, that his life would last only a moment longer. The king at once left the heavenly kingdom, which is always full of material enjoyment of the highest standard, and coming down to this earth, took ultimate shelter of the all-safe personality of Godhead. He was successful in his great attempt and achieved liberation. Okay. 6. Briefly describe the process of detachment recommended by Shukadeva Goswami. Is this Ashtanga Yoga? Maharaj Parikshit. Now your duration of life is limited to 7 more days. So during this time, you can perform all those rituals which are needed for the best purpose of your next life. At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof. One should leave home and practice self-control. In a sacred place, he should bathe regularly and sit down in a lonely place duly sanctified. After sitting in the above manner, make the mind remember the 3 transcendental letters, A, U, Ma, and by regulating the breathing process, control the mind so as not to forget the transcendental seed. Gradually, as the mind becomes progressively spiritualized, withdraw it from sense activities, and by intelligence, the senses will be controlled. The mind, too absorbed in material activities, can be engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead and become fixed in full transcendental consciousness. Thereafter, you should meditate upon the limbs of Vishnu, one after another, without being deviated from the conception of the complete body. Thus, the mind becomes free from all sense objects. There should be no other thing to be thought upon, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is the ultimate truth. The mind becomes completely reconciled in Him only. And there's all the 8 items of Ashtanga Yoga coming. Okay, analogies I want someone to read out loud now. Who can read out? Chittaman Ru,
Yes, bro.
just read out these analogies.
Analogies. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.1. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges waters, which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges waters go, they purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.4. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.8. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.15. After death, one forgets everything about the present bodily relations. We have a little experience of this at night when we go to sleep. While sleeping, we forget everything about this body and bodily relations, although this forgetfulness is a temporary situation for only a few hours.
Summary. Discussion topics we'll take up later on, if we get time. Okay, chapter 2, the Lord in the heart. This is chapter 2. Question 1. Why are the Vedic sounds described as bewildering? 2. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly, illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. So why are they described as bewildering?
Because it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms.
Anything in the purport?
I don't know. I'm just looking now.
The real happiness is in the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic ways of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. Okay, question 2. List those things Gurudev Goswami recommends to save us from endeavoring for unwanted things. 4 to 5. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Are there no torn cloths lying on the common road? Do the trees, which exist for maintaining others, no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers, being dried up, no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or, above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? In Bhagavatam, those who give up everything as renunciates and engage in bhakti yoga, they are considered fully surrendered souls. Question 3. What is the first duty of a person in the renounced order of life? The first duty of a person in the renounced order of life is to contribute some literary work for the benefit of the human being, and in order to give him a realized direction toward self-realization. Question 4. Give a brief description of the Paramatma or Super Soul. 8 to 12. Others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body, in the region of the heart, and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands, carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club, respectively. His mouth expresses his happiness. His eyes spread like the petals of a lotus. His garments, yellowish like the saffron of a katamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. His lotus feet are placed over the whorls of the lotus-like heart of great mystics. On his chest is the Kaustubha jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf. And there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. He is well decorated with ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers, his leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair curling with the bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. There's a question here by Somapati Gauranga Prabhu.
So in the previous answer, it is written literary work for renounced order of life, the prime duty. What is that?
Literary work.
Literary.
Literary work means writing, book.
This is for whom recommended? Renounced order of life means?
Renounced order of life means sannyas. There are 4 orders of life.
Not for brahmachari?
Brahmachari is training. He's being trained.
So every sannyasi should involve in this literary work?
That is the first duty of a sannyasi.
Okay.
Question 5. Briefly describe the yogic process of leaving the body when one likes. Why does this process supersede chosen times in Bhagavad Gita 8.23 to 26, 15 to 21? 15 to 21. Whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life air should control the senses by the mind. Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity, and then merge the living entity into the super self. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity becomes situated in a supreme stage of satisfaction, so that he ceases from all other activities. In that transcendental state of labdhopashanti, means satisfaction, there is no supremacy of devastating time which controls even the celestial demigods who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of the demigods themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material causal ocean, nor the material nature. The transcendentalists desire to avoid everything godless, for they know that supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is in absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexities, but worships the lotus feet of the Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization, and thus be able to extinguish all material desires. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which stool is evacuated with the heel of one's foot, and by lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Thereafter, the bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows and then blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, he should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. So that is the yogic process of leaving the body when one likes. How does it supersede the chosen times? That should be appearing in the purports. One of the purports. In the Bhagavad Gita 8.14, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and who constantly remembers him at every step easily obtains the mercy of the Lord by entering into his personal contact. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body. But those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with fruitive action or empiric philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, the opportune moments are stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8.23 to 26. But these opportune moments are not as important as once being a successful yogi who is able to quit his body as he likes. Okay. Question 6. Question 6. What are the special qualities of Satyaloka? 26 to 28. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes. Thus, he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be, what is this? 1,000, million, billion, trillion, 15 trillion, 480 billion years. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind. And therefore, there are no anxieties, save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotion service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. After reaching Satyaloka, the devotee is specifically able to be incorporated fearlessly by the subtle body in an identity similar to that of the gross body. And one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery, fiery, glowing, and airy, until he reaches the ethereal state. This is text 28 is not about Satyaloka. It's after Satyaloka. This is Satyaloka. Not universal coverings. But how one reaches Satyaloka is here. Anyone can reach Brahmaloka or Satyaloka by dint of spiritual perfection and practice is qualified to attain 3 different types of perfection. One was attained a specific planet by dint of pious activities, attains places in terms of his comparative pious activities. One was attained the place by dint of Virat or Hiranyagarbha worship, is liberated along with the liberation of Brahma. But one who attains the place by dint of devotion services specifically mentioned here in relation to how he can penetrate into the different coverings of the universe and thus ultimately disclose his spiritual identity in the absolute atmosphere of supreme existence. That came earlier. But definitely, these are features of Satyaloka. We solve Mahabharata. Okay, so that's what we have. Question 7. How does one purify the polluted aim of life? 37. 37. This is those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. Write a brief overview of the chapter. A brief overview of the chapter. Let's have a look here itself. Sukadeva Goswami describes the futility of fruitive endeavor. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness. He thus recommends that the necessities of life be kept at a bare minimum so that one can become fixed in devotion service, by which one can end the conditioned state of existence. The Lord in the heart is described. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to His smiling face. This gradual process will purify the intelligence. The Virat Rupa meditation is a prerequisite to meditation on the personal form for those who have not yet developed a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord. Sukadeva Goswami describes how a successful bhakti yogi who is able to quit his body as he likes can purify himself of material gross and subtle bodies, extinguishing all material desires. After pushing his life air through the cerebral hole and gradually ascending through the higher planets, he can at last pierce the outer coverings of the universe and enter into the kingdom of God. This process was described personally by Lord Krishna to Brahma. Sukadeva Goswami recommends direct devotion service, Bhakti Yoga, as the most auspicious means of deliverance for those who are wandering in the material universe. He explains that Lord Krishna is the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, and that devotional service to Him is the perfection of religion. Therefore, one should hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord. Good. Okay, can someone else read out analogies?
There is a question by Somapati Prabhu, I think.
Okay, Somapati Prabhu.
So in the previous question, it is written opportune moments for mixed kind of devotees.
Yes.
What is that?
That is there, Bhagavad Gita 8.23 to 26.
Yeah, so who is that mixed devotees means? It is also for our devotees who are in Krishna consciousness.
Mixed devotees are mixed devotees. Those who execute bhakti along with desires for karma pada or jnana pada. Maybe inside ISKCON, outside ISKCON. That is not the point. This is all the science of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. The second question is that it is written one is supposed to maintain bare necessities in life. So bare necessities means?
Bare necessities, he has already spelled out what are the bare necessities of life. We have to come to that point.
Which one, bro?
Yeah. Yeah.
No need of bed.
4 and 5. One should come to the point where one gives up everything. That is Sukadeva Goswami's point. We need to come to this point where we give up everything and engage in bhakti yoga. Okay.
Okay.
Analogies. Who can read now? Achyutanand Das.
Yes, Prabhuji. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.7. In the Vedas, it is said that persons who are attached to demigods to the exclusion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like animals who follow the herdsmen even though they are taken to the slaughterhouse. 2.2.12. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. 2.2.27. It is said that one should become a Brahmana before one can understand the Vedic statements. And this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. 2.2.31. The impersonalists may be compared to certain species of fish who, being born in the rivers and rivulets, migrate to the great ocean. They cannot stay in the ocean indefinitely, for their urge for sense gratification brings them back to the rivers and streams to spawn.
Yeah.
I'll continue the analogy, bro.
Okay, please. Where are they analyzed? Only this
No,
much now.
they're over. For second chapter, it's over.
Yeah, that's all. Chapter 3. Right. Pure devotion service, the change in heart. Chapter 1, list 5 of the various demigods worshipped for material desires and the respective results of such worship. 2 to 9. I'll read out 2 to 9. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king, Indra. One who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire. And one who aspires only for money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishwadeva. And one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumaras. And the person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods. One who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Question 2. What are the gains of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead rather than the demigods? 9 to 12. We already saw. 10. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. All the different kinds of worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfection of benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the association of the pure devotee of the Lord. Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment. and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? So this is the advantage of worshipping the Supreme Lord rather than the demigods. Question 3. List similarities and differences between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami, 15 and 16. Let me just take it from here. Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of the Pandavas, was from his very childhood a great devotee of the Lord. Even while playing with dolls, he used to worship Lord Krishna by imitating the worship of the family deity. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41, it is stated that even a person who has failed in the proper discharge of yoga practice is given a chance to take birth in the house of devout Brahmanas or in the houses of rich men like Kshatriya kings or rich merchants. But Maharaj Parikshit was more than that, because he had been a great devotee of the Lord since his previous birth, and as such, he took his birth in an imperial family of the Kurus, and especially that of the Pandavas. So, from the very beginning of his childhood, he had the chance to know intimately the devotional service of Lord Krishna in his own family. The Pandavas, all being devotees of the Lord, certainly venerated family deities in the royal palace for worship. According to Jiva Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit must have heard about the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna and Vrindavan, for he used to imitate the pastimes with his young playmates. According to Sridhar Swami, Maharaj Parikshit used to imitate the worship of the family deity by elderly members. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also confirms the viewpoint of Jiva Goswami. Accepting either of them, Maharaj Parikshit was naturally inclined to Lord Krishna from his very childhood. He might have imitated either of the above mentioned activities, and all of them establishes great devotion from his very childhood, a symptom of a Mahabhagavata. Such Mahabhagavatas are called Nityasiddhas, or souls liberated from birth. Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who was glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. It's already described, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of the Lord from his very birth, and so was Shukadeva Goswami. Both of them were on the same level. Although it appeared that Maharaj Parikshit was a great king accustomed to royal facilities, whereas Shukadeva Goswami was a typical renouncer of the world, so much so that he did not even put a cloth on his body. Superficially, Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva might seem to be opposites, but basically they were both unalloyed pure devotees of the Lord. The use of the word cha after Vayasaki suggests, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, that both Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit were of the same category, settled long before, although one was playing the part of the master and the other the disciple. Okay. Question 4. List and explain 5 of the analogies that Shaunaka Rishi gives to condemn those who are averse to devotional service. (17 to 24). Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden, if not bow down before the personality of Godhead who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead Hari. The eyes, which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs, which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered, are considered to be like tree trunks. The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And the person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulasi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Certainly, that heart is steel frame, which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes, and the hair stand on him. Here, it should be briefly explained, or yeah, it should be briefly explained. Let me do one thing. Why does it take so much time? Put a message to message. One. Um, one, system number 4. Then briefly. Okay, who can read out analogies? Mohan Radhapati group.
Hare Krishna Guru. 2317. As a highly potent drug, injected intravenously acts at once on the whole body. The transcendental topics of the Lord injected through the ear of the pure devotee of the Lord can act very efficiently. 19. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. The so-called educated persons move like dogs from door to door with applications for some service. Persons who have no discrimination in the matter of foodstuff and who eat all sorts of rubbish are compared to hogs. The thorns mixed with fresh blood create a taste for the foolish camel. Similarly, the great business magnates eat the thorny results of their actions mixed with their own blood. In this age, the human being is actually engaged in the work of an ass. 20. Consider to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes and a tongue like the tongue of a frog. The human tongue is specially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking like frogs. Similarly, the tongue will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. 21. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden, if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead. And the hands are like those of a dead man, if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead Hari. 22. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead Vishnu are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places are considered to be like tree trunks.
The process of creation. 1. Explain why the word Satim applies well to Maharaj Parikshit. This must be in the purport. Satim, chaste. The word Satim is very significant. This means existing and chaste. And both imports are perfectly applicable in the case of Maharaj Parikshit. The whole Vedic adventure is to draw one's attention entirely into the lotus feet of Lord Krishna without any diversion, as instructed in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Fortunately, Maharaj Parikshit already been attracted to the Lord from the very beginning of his body in the womb of his mother. In the womb of his mother, he was struck by the Brahmastra atomic bomb released by Ashwatthama. But by the grace of the Lord, he was saved from being burnt by the fiery weapon. And since then, the king continuously concentrated his mind upon Lord Krishna, which made him perfectly chaste in devotional service. So, by natural sequence, he was a chaste devotee of the Lord. And when he further heard from Sri Shukadeva Goswami that one should worship the Lord only and no one else, even though full of all desires or desireless, his natural affection for Krishna was strengthened. Question 2. Explain how Maharaj Parikshit was able to give up all family attachments and the regulated activities of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. 2 to 4. Maharaj Parikshit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. O great sages, the great soul Maharaj Parikshit, constantly wrapped in thought of Lord Krishna, knowing well of his imminent death, renounced all sorts of fruitive activities, namely acts of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and thus fixed himself firmly in his natural love for Krishna and asked all these questions exactly as you are asking me. There's no explanation though. Let me check here. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Maharaj Parikshit was awarded all material amenities and an undisputed kingdom in which to enjoy the undisturbed position of king. But by the grace of the Lord, he was able to give up all connections with material attachment. That is the position of a pure devotee. Maharaj Parikshit, due to his natural affection for Lord Krishna as a devotee of the Lord, was always executing his royal duties on behalf of the Lord. And as a responsible king of the world, he was always careful to see that the influence of Kali would not enter his kingdom. A devotee of the Lord never thinks of his household paraphernalia as his own, but surrenders everything for the service of the Lord. As a great emperor of the world, Maharaj Parikshit had to observe the regulations of the Vedic Karmakandiya section, but by his slight association with Shukadeva Goswami, he could perfectly understand that Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead Vasudeva, for whom he had a natural love since his birth, is everything. And thus he fixed his mind firmly upon him, renouncing all modes of Vedic Karmakandiya activities. I thought there was a question here. Yes. Yes.
Bro, how he got the wholehearted attraction for Lord Krishna?
First of all, it was naturally in him since childhood, but it was reawakened in the association of Shukadeva Goswami. That's all.
So for the neophytes, we should suggest them to hear from the realized souls.
Yeah, we should hear from realized souls. We are the neophytes.
Yes.
Achyutanam Prabhu.
Prabhu, in 2.4.1 purport, conditions to become a pure devotee, Prabhupada is writing two things are essential. And one of them is taking birth in the family of a devotee. So, like if I see my personal case, then it's not a devotee
But I
family.
think that you only asked
So
the same
then,
question when we were going through this,
should
no?
we take it like this, that this life it's not possible to become pure devotee?
But I think you only asked this question while we were studying this also. And I think I explained that this is a general principle, Utsarga. There are exceptions. But this is a general principle. In general, this is required. Yeah, it's a fact. The exception is when we surrender to the teachings of pure devotional service as imparted by a perfect realized soul. Then that is an exception. Otherwise, if you want to attain dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and Krishna prema, everything you want, then it takes many, many lifetimes. So one needs to be born in the right manner also. Okay, let's move on. Question 3. Why does Maharaj Parikshit ask about the process of creation? 6 to 10. Six to 10. First, let me read out 6 to 10. And then let's see where it is. Explain why he asks about this. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates this phenomenal means that which is perceived by our senses. These phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods, kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. For learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one. Whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because you are not only vastly learned in the Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but are also a great devotee of the Lord and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. Why does he ask this? I think the answer is here. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises, and therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagya, as stated herein before in connection with Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God, which are unknown to the disciple, must be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord, as we have all learned in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmalyasya Yataha. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Question 4. Analyze the prayers of Shukadeva Goswami.
Just we list the prayers of Shukadeva Goswami.
No, it should be summarize the prayers of Shukadeva Goswami.
Summarize, yeah. What we will analyze?
Too much. But I'm going to note that it should be modified. This is what. Four. Question. What is this question? Question number 4. Summarize. It will summarize. Somapati Prabhu.
Bro, how Maharaj Parikshit was able to know that Sukadeva Goswami is a realized soul?
First of all, Parikshit Maharaj was well trained in Vedic spirituality. Apart from that, he was also an advanced devotee of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami was unanimously accepted by all the renounced great authorities of the universe. He also knew about Shukadeva Goswami's glories because Vyasadeva was a constant advisor to the Pandavas. And he is the celebrated son of Vyasadeva. Therefore, there are so many reasons how he got to know about Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami was a great celebrity, actually. So it is not difficult to know. Okay, I want someone to read out these translations from text 12 to text 24. Who can read out? Dharmatma Prabhu.
Text 12. Sukadeva Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the 3 modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable." Text 13. I again offer my respectful obeisance unto the form of complete existence and transcendence, who is the liberator of the pious devotees from all distresses and the destroyer of the further advances in atheistic temperament of the non-devotee demons. For the transcendentalists who are situated in the topmost spiritual perfection, he grants their specific destinations. Text 14. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto him, who is the associate of the members of the Yadu dynasty, and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds. Yet, he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Text 15. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Shri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrance, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. Text 16. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, the highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences, and without difficulty progress toward spiritual existence. Text 17. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chanters of the Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. Text 18. Kirat, Hun, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulakasha, Avira, Sumbha, Yavana, members of the Khasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Text 19. He is the super soul and the supreme Lord of all self-realized souls. He is the personification of the Vedas, religious scriptures, and austerities. He is worshipped by Lord Brahma and Shiva and all those who are transcendental to all pretensions. Being so revered with awe and veneration, may that supreme absolute be pleased with me. Text 20. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, the protector and glory of all the kings like Andhaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on the earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful upon me. Text 21. It is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who gives liberation. By thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. May the Lord be pleased with me. Text 22. May the Lord, who in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self, and who appeared to be generated from the mouth of Brahma, be pleased with me. Text 23. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of the material modes, which are his generator, which is generated by him actually. I don't know. Which are his generator. Is it correct? Middle modes. It does not look like correct. Text 23. You see?
Which are his generator, his is small h also. No.
But whose generator?
Generator of the living being.
Okay. Okay. Be pleased to decorate my statements. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shlabhyastev, the creation of Vasudev, who compiled the Vedic scriptures. The pure devotees drink of the nectarian transcendental knowledge dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. Sorry.
Okay. Analogies. Sachitullah Chaitanya Prabhu, can you read out?
Yes, Prabhuji. SP 2.415. When a hungry man is given food to eat, he feels satisfaction of hunger and the pleasure of dining simultaneously. Thus, he does not have to ask whether he has actually been fed or not. The crucial test of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should get positive enlightenment by such an act. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.6. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically we have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically, as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.10. The expansions of different forms of Lord as from Krishna to Baldev to Sankarshan, and innumerable other forms, which are compared to the constant following of the uncountable waves of a river, are all one and the same. They are like lamps of equal power, which kindly from one lamp to another.
Okay. Chapter 5. The cause of all causes. Okay, that's a question here.
So what
In
is
the chat
positive
box.
enlightenment?
The same thing you're asking. What is positive enlightenment? Okay, positive. I'm looking at Merriam-Webster's dictionary. It has different meanings. One meaning is formally laid down or imposed. It has a sense of prescribed. Another meaning is expressed clearly. Another is fully assured. It has a sense of confident. Then it has other meanings in the sense of comparison, independent of changing circumstances, in the sense of unconditioned. Okay, here is another meaning. Incontestable, like in the expression positive proof. So I think Prabhupada is using the word positive in this sense. Positive enlightenment means incontestable enlightenment, factual enlightenment. Okay, chapter 5. The cause of all causes. Question 1. What makes Narada wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than Lord Brahma? 5 to 7. As a spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal. Eternal or temporary. Is not created by any source other than that of your lordship, thou so great. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. Let me have a look at reports here also. Narada Muni accepted Brahma as the supreme due to Lord Brahma's wonderful acts in creation. But doubts arose in him when he saw that Lord Brahma also worshipped some superior authority. Narada Muni thought of Brahmaji as the supreme person. But when he saw Brahmaji engaged in the process of transcendental realization, doubts arose in him. So he wanted to be clearly informed. Question 2. Explain the analogy of the frog in the well logic. 10. This must be in the purport. The frog in the well logic illustrates that a frog residing in the atmosphere and boundary of a well cannot imagine the length and breadth of the gigantic ocean. Such a frog, when informed of the gigantic length and breadth of the ocean, first of all, does not believe that there is such an ocean. And if someone assures him that factually there is such a thing, the frog then begins to measure it by imagination by means of pumping its belly as far as possible, with the result that the tiny abdomen of the frog bursts and the poor frog dies without any experience of the actual ocean. Similarly, the material scientists also want to challenge the inconceivable potency of the Lord by measuring him with their frog-like brains in their scientific achievements. But at the end, they simply die unsuccessfully like the frog. Sometimes a materially powerful man is accepted as God or the incarnation of God. No, okay, that's all. That's all. It's enough. It is good enough. Question 3. What is the meaning of Swarochisha? And what is its role in the creation as described in this verse? Again, it should come here. Swarochisha, by his own effulgence. I create after the Lord's creation. After the Lord's creation by his personal effulgence. Own effulgence is personal effulgence, known as the Brahma Jyoti. What is its role in the creation as described in this verse? Here. Just as the small seed of a banyan tree has the potency to create a big banyan tree, the Lord disseminates all varieties of seeds by his potent Brahmajyoti, Swarochisha, and the seeds are made to develop by the watering process of persons like Brahma. Brahma cannot create the seeds, but he can manifest the seed into a tree just as a gardener helps plants and orchards to grow by the watering process. Question 4. Compare the description of the deluding energy given in verse 3 with that of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.4 to 5. What is this verse 3 here? This is correct. Or is it going to be something else? It is the text 13, it's not 3. For the text 13. The illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence. That means it cannot stay in front of him. It cannot overcome him. It cannot overcome him means it cannot overcome the Lord. Being ashamed of her position. But those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine. This should be compared with the description in Bhagavatam 1.7.4 to 5. This question is an understanding question. It should not come. I'll make a note. Okay. 1.7.4 and 5. This is 1.7.4. Yeah, so they engages in pure bhakti yoga in samadhi, and he sees the absolute personality of Godhead. He also sees Maya, his energy, which is completely under his control. So he understands that Maya is completely under the control of the personality of God, absolute personality of God. So this Purusha is not the Jivatma. Sometimes Jivatmas are also referred to as Purushas, but it cannot be this because the Jivatma is not Purna Purusha. In the in verse 13 here, sorry, what was that? Sorry, here. In verse 13, here also we see she is unable to stay in front of the Supreme Lord. And here it says that she was under the full control of the Supreme Lord. So there is a connection there. Yeah, it is by that illusory potency that the living entities are illusioned, and they think that they are products of matter. They think of themselves as products of matter, even though they're. So the Jivatma is the one who is bewildered by Maya. Jivatma is the one who is bewildered by Maya, not the Paramatma. She is ashamed to even stand in front of him. So how can she have an effect on him? That is the point. Okay, I'll stop with that now. Tomorrow we'll resume from this. Fifth chapter, fifth question in preliminary self-study. Okay. We here in ISKCON, HEAR, some disciples are associates of Lord Chaitanya. Is it true? And who are they? I have not. ISKCON people say so many things. Prabhupada himself said, don't take all this. He even said, people will say, Prabhupada said, don't even believe that unless you see it in writing. Okay. Vanchakalpataruvesya kripasindephye vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.